Hi HR Nation, welcome back to another episode of the HR Leaders Podcast, the show where we explore the future of work with industry experts and HR executives from the world's leading global brands. On today's show, we're joined by Natalie Umenyi, Vice President of HR at Citi. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. It's nice to speak to someone who's kind of local. In a way, I speak to HR leaders all over the world. I feel like I'm at home right now. So it's good to speak to you.
Yeah, good to speak to you. Just around the corner.
Around the corner, yeah, exactly. Tell everyone a little bit more about you personally and your journey to where you are right now.
So currently work at Citi. My kind of path to getting here has been, I'd say, quite mixed. So I started, I did a degree in psychology, and then I was lucky enough to kind of fall into HR in a way. I never wanted to work in HR. I wanted to work in mental health because my degree was in psychology. I was really interested in working with like people with eating disorders. Actually was offered a job at Brixton Prison, which would have been absolutely amazing. But I was 21, so I was really scared and nervous.
Pretty intimidating, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that would be something that I wanted to do at the time. So ended up falling into HR through a friend who was a recruiter, and she had a job for me at a law firm, a US law firm. So I interviewed there on a contract, got the job. And then when that contract was coming to an end, I was able to also, through the same friend, secure a job at BNY Mellon. And that's kind of how I went into finance, really. That was also kind of doing HR administrative work. And then, again, contracts. And then went on to Bank of America. And then it kind of followed through in that sense. Yes, that's been my path.
They worked your way up basically and stuck in finance they got you.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a long time. It was really hard going from temp to perm work. But I feel like my career didn't really take off until I got to Citi. So yeah.
How long have you been in now?
It was my 4-year anniversary on Saturday.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah,
nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Just want to go back a second because you mentioned working with people with eating disorders. What was the inspiration behind that? I say inspiration. What was the reason behind that?
Yeah, so I mean, I find it just an interesting topic anyway, mental health and well-being. My interest with eating disorders, I have always kind of struggled with my weight. Wouldn't say I had an eating disorder, but I've always struggled with my weight. So the interest and fascination around eating and how people control their eating was definitely of interest. And I think just working with other females of a similar age group and just that kind of connection was what initially drove me to being interested in that work.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. We spoke before the show, and no one really plans a role in HR. Kind of finds you along the way, but you are impacting thousands of people now and helping them. So in another way, but also talking about mental health and well-being, that's also come to the forefront and something which HR plays a massive role. So it's kind of found your way there anyway, in many ways.
Yeah, I think it it seems like a natural progression. I think you always find people who do psychology degrees or have that interest that end up working in HR.
Yeah.
It's definitely linked.
Definitely. What are your passions and hobbies outside of the office?
So I like spending time with family and friends. I like nice restaurants and good bars, like a nice cocktail.
Who doesn't?
Try to do that. Like I try to be more social, especially post-COVID. Went to a really nice restaurant actually last week called Maya, which was at the Hoxton Hotel,
nice.
a rooftop restaurant, Mexicans. That was really nice. And then the last few years, I've really got into Bikram yoga. Is
that the one where you're like in the room where it's really hot?
really hot. Yeah.
Like it's almost like a sauna, like you're doing yoga in a sauna, basically.
Yeah, like 40 degrees heat.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare rather than
Ish.
fun.
I know. Honestly, when I first started doing it, I was like, I don't know why I'm torturing myself. But actually, what I found was it is so good for your, not even just physical health. I mean, I was having a lot of back problems, which is why I started getting into yoga, just because it actually, when you do it in the heat, your muscles and joints end up being a bit more looser, so you can move more freely. And it actually really, really helped. And I haven't, touch wood, had really bad back problems since I started doing it. And it's almost like meditative, because you actually have to focus really hard to hold some of those postures in such like high temperatures. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I need to do a bit more of it. I find it hard with work to sometimes get to the classes, but I do try and do like one a week at least at the minute.
Yeah, you're right, because you have to be present in the moment as well. So even if you had worries outside of that, it's quite hard to you're in that heat, and in that moment you're just focused. You're just present right there and then.
90 minutes just for you. It's really nice, actually.
Yeah. Interesting. And then kind of, again, talking about taking care of your own mental health and well-being, it comes back to that as well, because you need to be able to, it's hard to take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself. You've got to start with yourself first.
100%.
Yeah. HR has gone through a massive transformation over the last 18 months, especially. If you could click your fingers and change one thing about HR, what would that be?
We sometimes say this, like in HR anyway, and I've heard other people on my floor say this, that we don't always practice what we preach, in that I think HR people can be quite good at advising the clients or the people that they support from a HR perspective in, career development and going on training and finding time for themselves and doing all of those things. And sometimes in HR, we don't ourselves actively seek, I guess, development. I know I don't always find time to do kind of personal training. My new boss has kind of actively encouraged me recently to do, and I think it's an eCornell training course. So I'll be doing that in January, but that's the first kind of thing that I've done for me from a professional development perspective in a long time.
Because you're so busy trying to deliver, right? And you're like, I don't have time, but no one ever has time.
No, exactly. I think we all say we're so busy, and
that's what you hear from your stakeholders, right? When you're saying to them, you need to develop your people, they're like, I'm too busy, but then you're doing it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
we're all culprits.
Exactly. You just have to carve out time, don't you? You just have to find it somewhere.
Yeah. And again, like to the point earlier, during this whole time, HR leaders need to put their own oxygen mask on first before they can help other people. And again, big culprits, right? We're talking about health, well-being, etc. Taking holidays, and they're like the HR sometimes are the biggest culprits. It's for a good reason, right? Because they're so busy trying to help, but then they end up burning out along the way. So that's very interesting. I agree with you on that. How would your friends and family describe what you do for a living?
I think it kind of goes over their head. I think because when you think about HR, you think hiring, firing, recruitment, the kind of
payroll.
Payroll, the bread and butter of HR. And then when you go into HR in such a huge corporate investment bank, completely matrix, so many of us in HR, there's so many different types of roles. You would just never imagine that there was that much opportunity in HR. So I do a project manager role. So I don't get involved in kind of the bread and butter HR stuff.
So do you think they would say then you hire and fire people? What do you think the answer would be?
Yeah, I think they would. Yeah, think that that's pretty much what I did. I think they know that I use Excel. They're like, oh, you use Excel, but
we see you on Excel a lot. That's it, like on phone calls. You're on phone calls every day. That's what you do. You talk to people.
Yeah, and then also it's hard as well. Like when they don't understand like the context of the businesses that we work with. So it's I'm sure it goes over their head.
Yeah, you're like, I can't be bothered to even talk about it at this point.
Yeah, I'm done for the day.
Yeah. This is a kind of controversial one, but have you ever considered quitting HR or walking away, trying something new?
For the most part, I have to say I'm quite lucky and fortunate to do my job. I think I actually really enjoy being in HR, but that's not to say that obviously at times I think, oh, what would I do different if I could? If I could do something different, I would probably I'm really interested in like social media and like digital marketing and like just how, and I think that's the psychology interest as well, almost like how we influence or brands can influence how people spend and just like the, I guess, lifestyle habits that are influenced by advertising and branding and
Hmm.
all of that. So that kind of work interests me. So I think that would probably be something that I'd consider.
Again, it's that like kind of behavioral psychology, right?
Yeah,
And we've got to the point where technology really knows how to manipulate people. Social
yeah,
media is kind of the one, right? And it kind
yeah,
of, he knows that, hitting that like button or any button releases that dopamine
yes,
in someone, and they're like, oh, yeah, all of that stuff. So again, kind of links back to kind of your passions, right?
yeah.
In a
And
different
I think that kind of work is called is it like UX, like
a
UX
user
design?
experience, yeah. But obviously there's deep research now in human behavior, human psychology linked into every single button, the layout.
Yeah,
It's all purposeful. It's not an accident.
no,
Everything is there
yeah,
designed to kind of manipulate us, really,
yeah,
as well. Yeah, it's kind of almost scary now. They know more about our behaviors than us
yeah. It's so creepy.
in the
Like
data.
even if I'll go online and I'll see a pair of trainers and I think, I swear I searched for those trainers the other day, but I didn't opt into cookies. So I'm
It
just
doesn't
paranoid
matter.
that the phone's
Yeah.
listening to me or something.
We always do that, right? We go like, oh, and it just, you search one page and for the next 3 months you're being suggested all these
Yeah,
things, right? And you're like, and they get you. They're so good. They send me things that I actually do want, or like that I'm tempted. I'm like, yeah, it is bad. What would you say is the biggest investment that you've made in yourself in your career, or
um,
personally?
just investing in my health and well-being. I really started to do that a couple of years back. So just exercising more, being a little bit mindful about what I eat. I try to keep on top of that, and also just like look after my well-being. I'm very mindful of like what my limits are and what pushes me sometimes to the point where I'm like, I need a break. So trying to not get to that boiling point. And also, like I said, I think the Bikram yoga and really helps. I have a lot of things that go on in my personal life, like we all do outside of work. So I think just looking after yourself is so key to be able to support and like care for the people around you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's been my biggest
investment.
investment. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you're still on the journey. You're far from where you want to be. It's a never-ending journey. What advice would you give to the HR leaders of tomorrow that are on their journey to be where you are today?
Just be kind to yourself, and I think that goes for anyone that's trying to build their career. There were definitely times where I was like in my late 20s thinking, I have been doing this kind of work for ages, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm not getting promoted, and then you can kind of feel like a failure at times. So I think also just taking opportunities as they come. I took a lot of sideway or lateral moves to kind of broaden my experience. It wasn't always like a linear path, and I think a lot of people would say the same thing. I mean, if you're lucky enough to just get promoted, and go up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the breadth of experience that makes you the right person to do different roles. So I think just taking lateral moves, getting as much experience as possible, because we don't always know the roles of tomorrow. We don't know what the future will look like in the workplace. We have an idea, but we don't really know. So I think getting as much experience as you can, even in different industries. I think people feel tied to finance or tied to tech or wherever they are. Yeah, so that's my advice. Just have really good breadth of experience, and also not worry about titles. I think we can get tied into like these linear moves and go up the chain almost to get the title, but you want to be doing interesting work because we spend so many hours at work.
If you're going to do it, you want to be interested and engaged, right?
Yeah, don't chase titles, chase like interesting work.
Yeah.
And good teams. It's good to work with good people.
Yeah, everything you said is super important. You know, you need to work across the business, understand different parts of the organization. There's one thing knowing the business on paper and how you make money. There's another thing working within it in different functions, and that becomes invaluable when you move up to a VP CHRO role where you really understand those roles because you've been there, you've lived it, as opposed to just going straight up, right? Without experiencing any of that.
Yeah, you're right. And definitely moving functions if that's of interest, you know. Yeah, like you said, getting experience within the business, moving back to HR, maybe moving to another support function if that's of interest. Yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely good for building your career.
Before I let you go, where can people connect with you if they want to reach out and say hi?
So I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
As we all are. So LinkedIn would be the best place.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for doing this. I know this is your first podcast, so we made it happen. It wasn't that scary. You did great. Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. It's very, very nice.
There's always a first, right? Now you can be like, yeah, I've been on a podcast before. Yeah. But next time someone asks you as well. But thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. For everyone listening, the link's already below to connect with Natalie on LinkedIn. So if you click the link in the description below, go connect with Natalie on LinkedIn. But apart from that, let's meet up for a drink soon. We're not too far away from each other. So we'll have one of those cocktails. I'll see you soon.
For sure, definitely.
Thank you.